Hi, Amanda Pike here. My speech is about why I think sex education should be taught before the 7th grade. As a girl who lost her virtue at 13, I would have loved to have known way more about sex before I jumped into it. Now I know you're probably thinking, why do I care? Why do I care when she lost her virtue? Well, what if I was your niece, your little sister, or even your daughter giving this speech? You would hear them out. Wouldn't you? Exactly, you would. Now that I have your attention, let me enlighten you on why I think sex education should be taught before the 7th grade. According to a study done by Alan Guttmacher Institution, 34% of schools that have a district-wide policy to teach sex education uses the abstinence-only message, which contraception information is either prohibited or limited to a mention of its ineffectiveness. 66% of schools provided information about contraception, such as a condom or birth control pills, as well as other practices that fall in the safer sex category. However, this does not mean that the benefits of abstinence are not stressed in these programs or that they should take a back seat. I know some of you are probably thinking, who cares? But I'm sorry. I think that if the school that I went to has 2 and 3 year freshmen coming in with 2 and 3-year-old children already, they should have learned about sex education way before the 7th grade. I know, and some of you probably think it's the parents' responsibility to teach their children about sex education or the birds and the bees before the 7th grade. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you something scary that I had just come across in my research. There's a 9-year-old little girl named Daphne in Mexico who gave birth to a 6-pound and 6-ounce baby girl on January 27th of this year. Scary, isn't it? Just think, what if that was your daughter or your little sister? Now, what if they had learned about sex education earlier? She would have known about the responsibilities and the consequences that come with sex. Go ahead and think I'm calling the kettle black or speaking out of turn, but I think it should be taught when the kids hit the 5th grade. In Japan, sex education is mandatory for 10 or 11-year-olds, boys and girls. They mainly cover the biological topics such as menstruation and ejaculation, but at the same time, in China, they don't teach sex education till the child hits 17 to 18 years old due to their population. Egypt teaches sex education like the male and female reproductive systems, contraception, and STDs in public schools at the 2nd and 3rd level of the middle preparatory phase, which is usually 12 to 14 years of age. I know you're thinking, who cares? It's in another country. Well, I think that sex education should be taught in 5th grade in any country. Any country. I don't care. It should be taught. Did you know that 82% of parents who have children 18 and younger support schools that teach this comprehensive approach? According to the Institute of Guttmacher, 1 out of 4 15-year-olds have had sexual intercourse at least once, and more than half of the 17-year-olds have already been sexually active. Hello? More than half. Talking about in our country. That's a lot. Statistics also show that 50%, I'm talking half of the people in our country, half of the American teenagers, have lost their virginity by 17. That's a lot, people. It also shows that sex education in schools is only well accepted by 7% of American parents. The other 93 still consider it taboo to talk about sex with their children. So they resort to making up the ever-popular birds and the bees stories. Now, some of you think that the parents shouldn't rely on the school to teach their children about sex, and some of them are right. And some of you may think, well, in different religions, they're not allowed to be taught or exclude sex education until the children hit a certain age. That's fine. I'm just stating my opinion here. I know some people think that it's a lack of sincerity in teaching sex education in schools before the 7th grade. And they're right. And some of them are right because it sometimes isn't taken seriously. Students tend to look at it as a subject of ridicule and either don't attend those classes or have an excuse not to be in them. I think, really, that if they're just going to learn before the 7th grade about sex before they have to learn it anyway from all these TV shows and the stupid cartoons that are on now, why can't we teach them? Why can't we teach them when they hit the 5th grade? They're just going to learn it from these stupid TV shows that are on now. So what's the issue? What's the harm going to be? I know if I had a little sister or a daughter, I would want them to learn about it from school at an early age than I would from TV shows or on the streets from their peers. Now, I know that if I had learned about it before I had jumped into it, if I had learned about it before I had experienced it, I wouldn't have done it. I have my regrets every day about having sex before I had learned about it. But by the time I had learned about it, it had been too late. The experience was already over. I just wish somebody would have taught me about it before it had happened. Just think about that for a minute. Wouldn't it make more sense just to teach them earlier than have something happen to them like that little girl in Mexico? Thank you.